The veil of deception, exposing Jezebel's spirits in sacred spaces. In the serene town of Sanctum, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, stood a church that had been a beacon of light for generations. The sanctuary of divine grace was more than a place of worship. It was a spiritual home, a refuge for those seeking solace and connection with God. But beneath its hallowed halls and stained glass windows, a darkness had taken root, one that even the most devout could not see. The darkness came in the form of a woman named Evangeline. She was a charismatic and influential figure within the church, known for her eloquent prayers, her ability to discern the needs of others, and her seemingly unwavering devotion to God. But Evangeline was not what she appeared to be. She was a vessel for the Jezebel spirit, a manipulative, controlling force that thrives in sacred spaces, using the guise of spirituality to gain power and influence. Evangeline's tactics were subtle but effective. She would flatter the church leaders, offering to take on responsibilities that others shied away from. She would prophesy over members of the congregation, weaving half-truths and emotional manipulation into her words. She even positioned herself as a confidant to the pastor, subtly undermining his authority while appearing to support him. The congregation, trusting and eager to grow in their faith, fell under her spell. Those who questioned her motives were ostracized or labeled as divisive. The church, once a place of unity and love, became a battleground of hidden agendas and silent power struggles. One man, however, saw through the veil of deception. His name was Gabriel, a former pastor who had stepped away from ministry after a personal crisis of faith. Gabriel had returned to Sanctum seeking healing and renewal, but what he found in the sanctuary of divine grace troubled him deeply. Gabriel noticed how Evangeline's presence seemed to stir tension rather than peace. He saw how her discernment often left people feeling exposed and vulnerable rather than uplifted, and he felt the weight of her energy, a heaviness that didn't align with the light of God. One evening, after a particularly intense church service, Gabriel approached the pastor, a man named Elijah. "Brother Elijah," Gabriel said gently, "I sense a spirit at work here, one that is not of God. It's subtle, but it's causing division and confusion." Elijah, weary and burdened, sighed deeply. "I felt it too," he admitted, "but I didn't want to believe it. Evangeline has been such a help to me, to the church. How could she be the source of this?" Gabriel placed a hand on Elijah's shoulder. "The Jezebel spirit doesn't always come as an obvious enemy. It often disguises itself as an ally, using charm and manipulation to gain trust. But its goal is always control, not service." Together, Gabriel and Elijah began to pray for discernment and guidance. They sought the wisdom of other spiritual leaders and studied the scriptures, looking for answers. Slowly, the truth began to unfold. They discovered that Evangeline had a history of causing division in other churches, leaving a trail of broken relationships and shattered faith in her wake. Confronting Evangeline was not easy. When they finally sat down with her, she was defensive and dismissive, accusing them of jealousy and spiritual pride. But Gabriel and Elijah stood firm, their words rooted in love and truth. "Evangeline," Elijah said, "we care about you, but we cannot allow this spirit to continue operating in our church. For the sake of the congregation and for your own soul, we need to address this." Evangeline's mask slipped, revealing the anger and fear beneath. She lashed out, hurling accusations and threats, but Gabriel and Elijah remained steadfast. They prayed over her, breaking the influence of the Jezebel spirit and releasing her from its grip. In the days that followed, the atmosphere in the sanctuary of divine grace began to shift. The heaviness lifted, replaced by a renewed sense of peace and unity. The congregation, though shaken, came together in prayer and fellowship, rebuilding what had been broken. Evangeline, meanwhile, left the church and the town of Sanctum. Her journey became one of reckoning, a painful but necessary path toward self-awareness and redemption. Gabriel, inspired by the experience, felt called to return to ministry. He joined Elijah as an associate pastor, helping to guide the congregation toward a deeper understanding of spiritual discernment and healthy boundaries. The story of the sanctuary of divine grace became a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most sacred spaces are not immune to spiritual warfare. The Jezebel spirit, though cunning and deceptive, could not withstand the power of truth, love, and divine authority.